So I'm planning to put a window in this hard drive so you could basically see these things all floating around, the needle and everything going across the disk and so on. This drive is obviously not working, but this one is. So these are almost the exact same size and everything. So I want to match everything to this, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to take this, take the screws off of it, a Ziploc bag. I did this once before with the larger one, but I want to take it, put it in the Ziploc bag after taking the screws off. Haven't opened it yet. Put it in the Ziploc bag, carefully take it off, pull it out, and close the Ziploc bag. That way, very little dust, dirt, anything gets in it. Close the bag, and pretty much this portion of the disc will be in the bag like that, and it's not going to get dirty. Then I could take this part, except that one, cut a hole in it. I've already taken a little piece of paper and matched what it'd look like in there, so that triangle was me messing with something else. But that square is what basically will be on this. So that's what it'd kind of be looking like. So I also got a piece of plexiglass, which is about the exact same size as this, but I need to shorten it a little bit. So I'm going to take it downstairs to my workbench, shave off a little bit so it actually fits on this a little bit better. Then I will take this, do that with the bag, and then put this over it, trace the window, and then cut the window out. Okay, so I've gotten this, shortened it a little bit so I don't have to worry about those. It's nicely rounded on it, and I'm not cutting fingers on it. Later, when I get this off to put the window in it, I'll actually drill holes for where the screws have to go back in. That way I don't have to cut around it, because my window, if you peel this back, my window is going to be coming just under that, and it's going to be hard to try to glue it and seal it. So I'm just going to put a hole through it and just seal all the way around the hole. So I'm going to take the screws off of it, but I am not going to actually open it yet. And this might void the warranty. Oh, look at that. Product warranty will be void if seal, label, cover is removed or damaged. So there you go. Just as a warning, if you don't want the drive broken or void warranty, don't do this. There's the bare top of the hard drive. Warning, do not push down on this part, because if it does touch the discs inside, it will ruin them. So be very careful not to push down while you're doing it. I want to slide this in to get as little air and other contaminants in there. Now, hopefully, I can slide this. Okay, I'm just going to barely get it off. The seals around it are a bit tough. I can't get it off inside there. Just going to loosen the seals up, not actually remove it. Just twisting a little bit just to get the, see, just a little bit. That way I can remove it easier. Come on, off. 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 seal it, and I am not going to touch this until I am done with everything and ready to put this directly back on here. So, time to go take this, cut the square out here, put this on top of it, drill my holes through it, and stick it back on. Okay, so I've got this in my vise, get some hearing protection, and a Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel at the end of it. Then we're going to cut a window in it. And I basically just took a Sharpie and a piece of paper, just put it on it and matched the holes up, and then created a little box with Sharpie. And I'm just going to follow that. Oh, quick tip, make sure the vise is not very tight because it will flex and bend and warp and whatnot. When you're cutting, you don't want that because it will jump, it'll grab your tip and throw it all over the place. You don't want that because it can damage it and it can bend the metal beyond what you would be able to really fix. So do it very lightly, and you also don't want to get hot because that'll also warp the metal. And if you are doing this, you'd actually be quite surprised if you've never done it before. The metal is actually quite thick from what you'd expect. So here we go. There it is. Just take a regular file, and there's a lot of burrs in it. You can see the slightly on the edges here, there are a lot of little pieces of metal that are sticking up, and that's going to happen when you cut metal. So I want to take this file. I'm not going to put it in the vise. I'm just going to gently go back and forth. And get those pieces off. Again, don't push too hard. You don't want to warp it. I'm using the vise just to support it. Right there. That is what you definitely don't want on the inside of this hard drive, or the lid, because if that touches the hard drive, it's going to be completely ruined and you're not going to have any fun with it. So that's what I'm trying to get off. I'm using a paper towel, and basically when you wipe it over metal, if there's a spur, you'll see little fibers around the edges where it's caught, and I'd go through with a nice fine file. This is mainly one to protect your fingers, so as you're working with it, you're not going to slice your fingers up on all these little bits. Plus, you won't get all the little metal burrs in there in your fingers. Those hurt. So, as well as all the burrs will then be off. At that point, it's able to get plexiglass. Oh boy, where did I put it? Well, I'll find it. And put the plexiglass over it and glue it on, so on, and you shouldn't have any burrs knock loose when you actually put it on the hard drive. those burrs, since the needles literally ride on a very, very thin piece of air. Any little bit of dust, metal burrs would be worse since they are magnetic. They get stuck to the head, and you would literally get a hard drive crash, and it will not work at all, period. So that's why you want to get all those out. So I was just thinking about something. I can't exactly drill a hole through the plexiglass where my screw would go through it as well and actually hold the plate down. So I'm actually going to use my Dremel tool again and just mark where each one of these holes need to be, where I need to drill it, and then I will remove the plexiglass and actually drill my hole with a drill bit that's large enough to allow the screw to actually connect with the plate without messing with the plexiglass. So here we go. So just marked with the Dremel tool where each of the little holes are, each of the places. Okay, so I've got a 1/8 inch drill bit. I'm going to try this, see how well 1/8 inch does. I absolutely love all these little spirals that came off of it. That was great. That was a bonus to my day. Now to get a screw and see if it will go through the hole. Nope, I need to go a size bigger. Okay, so this time 9/16. Let's see how it does. A 9/16 will allow one of these to get through, but I'm going to go one size bigger just to make it a little easier. And I'm just going to drill all of them. I actually found this to work a lot better than using my drill. I'm getting rid of those spurs. So there's my piece of plexiglass. Holes line up almost perfectly. Well, I can now get all my screws inside the holes. So I'm going to clean the glass a little bit. Just got some isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to clean the top of it just to get any dirt that may have been left on it off. I don't want any of that in there. Wipe as many of those fibers off as you can. Or blow them off like I am. So I've got two things I want to try working on here. Super glue. That's what's going to hopefully actually hold this on there. Then this just because I have it, but it works pretty well. I'm going to put this around the insides of this window, well, from this side on the inside. That way no dirt, dust, whatever will go into the hard drive. If you get like a light or something and glare it a little bit like that, you can make sure there's no alcohol left on it. They say a little bit goes a long way. Well, yes it does. Very careful to align your holes exactly the way you have them. And press straight down, you don't have to move or slide or anything. Okay, so I held it down for like a minute or something. And I'm going to go get some weights and just lay weights on it. Just because I can, I'm putting 20 weights on it and 20 pounds on it. And I'm just going to let it sit there for a few more minutes until Loctite really dries, sets in. So it's been like 5-10 minutes. I'm not waiting too long. Loctite dries real quick. Yep, it's on there, good and hard. It's not coming off. Ah, now I got Loctite in my fingers. Very important. A Loctite, this stuff, or pretty much anyone's like this, get on your fingers and they don't really come apart again for a good while. You really gotta pull your fingers apart. They just like that, they just bond instantly like that. So, just careful. Little tiny bits like what I just got in my finger isn't gonna really hurt you. But if you get like it all over your fingers, you may not get your fingers apart and it may actually pull your skin apart. So, careful, warning. Don't want that to happen. So again, I'm just going to get a little swab, put some alcohol in it. And I'm going to clean this inside surface just around the window. Good enough for me. It's not like I really expect the drive to be working 4 or 5 years from now. So I'm going to take some of this stuff again. Since it's been opened, I want to squeeze just a little bit out to get it flowing. And I'm just going to put it around the edges here. Alright, really sloppy job, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit. What I'm really trying to do is get it into the grooves in there so that air won't get in. Just in there, you'll see it. The other thing is I'm trying to get any ridges off the metal. Ridges on the metal may dip down and hit the disc, and like before, it's going to cause issues. So I don't want a whole lot in there, just enough to make it airtight. And try to keep it off the glass. Get your fingers nice and free before you do it again. Otherwise you get it smudged all over the glass and it's hard to get off. And there it is. Nice sealed window. And I'm also going to fill this part in all the way around it, but I'll do that later. Actually, I'll do that now, since I'm going to have to let everything dry anyways. Open this up a little bit. And again, I'm just pushing this into the grooves. I don't need tons of it on there, I just want it in the grooves. That way it's airtight, watertight, since it is silicone. Plus, I just like getting my fingers messy. So it's been several hours. Right now it's actually almost 11 o'clock at night, so almost everyone in the house is sleeping, so I'm going to talk softly, but it's dried. It could dry a little bit longer, but I'm going to put it on the drive because I want to use it tomorrow. One last thing, if this will focus right, up here you see these little those black things. That is dust and dirt that has trapped under the seal that goes all the way around it. I'm going to attempt to get it out with rubbing alcohol and just a cloth. Hopefully I can get most of it off and then clean the whole inside of it. You don't want anything loose inside this, otherwise if it gets on the hard drive, it's going to ruin the hard drive, so don't want that. I'm actually finding if I use my fingernail and push it in there and go around, it actually seems to get a lot of crud out from in there from when I was cutting it. I would suggest, if you have any no lint cloths that you could use that will not leave little fibers behind, I would suggest using that instead of paper towels. But I don't, so I have to make do with paper towels and hopefully get everything I possibly can off this drive, off the cover. And just looking at glare from the metal and from the plexiglass. There shouldn't be any smudges on this side, hopefully not. And now I'm going to put it back on my hard drive. Drive is still pretty well protected. Oh, other thing, almost forgot. When you're putting it back on, make sure this little strip here is still in the drive. Make sure it doesn't get bumped off like it nicked or whatever when you're trying to put that back on. This acts kind of like a filter, would be very useful. When the drive is spinning, it pushes air into here, and as it tries to go back in the drive, it keeps it clean. Just try to make sure that stays on there, because that's very, very important. Slide this in there, be careful not to hit the disc. Lay it down gently on top of the drive. Make sure all the holes match up. And now to go get the screws. Forewarning, a lot of little screwdrivers will have magnets in the tips. Right now, since this does not have any shielding on this part right here, it is very important that you don't get these magnets near this drive, otherwise it will ruin the drive. So I'm going to put them as hand tight as I can with this little piece. Well, let's go take a look and see if this drive works. Alright, so back in my bedroom, I've got a Insignia internal hard drive enclosure. Alright, fingers crossed. Alright, so here's the drive again. This time running it on my Windows computer. See if it'll connect. Okay, so after some playing around, I actually had to tighten the screws quite a bit and seemed to have locked everything down, and now it actually seems to be working. Let me try copying something to this hard drive.